September 17, 1942. 0438 hours. Edsons Ridge, Guadalcanal, Solomon Islands. The rain had stopped at 0400. The ground stayed soft. Visibility was less than 40 meters. The temperature was 78 degrees Fahrenheit. Second Lieutenant Daniel Mercer Holloway, United States Marine Corps Reserve, lay behind a shallow coral berm with 12 men still able to fire. They were part of Company C, 1st Raider Battalion. The rest were dead, wounded, or missing. The ridge line they held was 300 yards long. The enemy was on three sides. Japanese infantry, elements of the Kawaguchi detachment, had begun the assault shortly after midnight. By dawn, an estimated 600 enemy soldiers were within grenade range. Holloway's position had no rear exit. The slope behind them dropped sharply into kunai grass and broken ravines already occupied. Radio contact with battalion headquarters had ended at 0320 when the SCR-300 was hit by shrapnel. Ammunition was down to fewer than 15 rounds per rifle. 2-bar magazines remained. No water. No stretcher bearers. Surrender was not discussed. Japanese doctrine in 1942 did not include taking prisoners during night assaults. Death was the expected outcome. The remaining question was timing. At 0438, flares rose from the tree line to the east. Bugles followed. The final charge was forming. Holloway checked his watch. He did not speak. There was no order left to give. Daniel Mercer Holloway was born in 1918 in Salina, Kansas. Population 20,000. His father worked as a grain elevator mechanic. His mother taught elementary school. The family rented their home. No history of military service. He graduated high school in 1936. Average student. Played baseball. Worked summers loading rail cars. In 1939 he enrolled at Kansas State Teachers College. He studied mathematics. He planned to teach. After Pearl Harbor, he enlisted on January 4, 1942. He chose the Marine Corps because it offered immediate deployment. He completed officer training at Quantico in April. He was assigned to the newly formed Raider battalions, designated for light infantry operations. He did not write about ideals in his letters. He wrote about pay, weight loss, and heat. He asked his parents to keep his books. He arrived on Guadalcanal on September 8, 1942. The island smelled of rot and fuel oil. He had been in country 9 days when the Japanese began their main counteroffensive. He had not yet learned the terrain. He knew only the ridge had to be held. Holloway's first engagement came on September 12, 1942, 4 days after landing. A patrol west of the Lunga River walked into an ambush at 0915 hours. Distance, 20 meters. The firing lasted less than a minute. 2 Marines were killed. 1 Japanese soldier was found afterward, wounded, still gripping a grenade with the pin pulled. That night, he learned what darkness did to judgment. Noise traveled without direction. Men fired at sounds. Orders were repeated and still misunderstood. Holloway watched a corporal freeze in place while rounds cut leaves above his head. The corporal survived. He did not speak afterward. On September 13, during a withdrawal to the ridge, Holloway was ordered to hold a trail junction for 10 minutes. The enemy approached in small groups, testing fire. 1 Marine asked permission to retreat early. Holloway denied it. The 10 minutes became 12. The Marine was hit in the thigh at minute 11. He crawled back without complaint. Later that evening, Holloway stepped over Japanese dead for the first time. Most were young. Many had no boots. 1 carried a diary wrapped in oilcloth. Holloway did not open it. By the night of September 16, he understood one thing clearly. The Japanese advanced until resistance collapsed. They respected neither exhaustion nor casualties. Hesitation invited encirclement. That knowledge stayed with him as the night assault began. 04:38 to 04:42 hours passed without contact. The flares burned out. The ridge went dark again. Holloway heard movement downhill. Boots slipping on wet coral. Voices low, controlled. Japanese infantry were forming for a frontal rush. He estimated distance at 30 meters. Too close for maneuver. Too close for correction. At 0443, a Marine to his left fired prematurely. 3 rounds. No target confirmed. The sound drew return fire immediately. Rifle and machine gun bursts cut across the berm. One Marine was hit in the neck. He fell without a sound. Holloway felt a narrowing of attention. Peripheral noise faded. He focused on the remaining bar. Its gunner had stopped firing. The weapon had jammed. The standard response was to wait. To conserve ammunition. To hold until the charge broke itself. Holloway did not wait. At 0444, he stood and moved forward 5 yards, exposing himself deliberately. He shouted orders he had no authority to give, calling for a counterattack that did not exist. He threw his last grenade downslope. The explosion was small but close. The Japanese paused. The pause lasted seconds. It was enough. Holloway ordered all remaining rifles to fire simultaneously. Not controlled fire. Everything at once. The noise was disproportionate to the number of men. At 0445, the enemy assault faltered. Confusion replaced momentum. Units pulled back unevenly. The ridge held. The action could not be reversed once begun. By 0600 hours, firing had dropped to isolated shots. Daylight revealed the ground in front of the ridge. Japanese casualties were later estimated at 90 to 120 killed in the sector held by Company C. Precise numbers were impossible. Many bodies lay downslope or had been removed during withdrawal. Company C counted 14 killed and 31 wounded from the night of 16 to 17 September. Of the 12 men with Holloway at 0438, 5 were dead by sunrise. 2 could no longer walk. Relief units from the 2nd Battalion reached the ridge at 0720. Ammunition was redistributed. Water followed. The Japanese did not renew the attack. By midday, the Kawaguchi detachment had begun a general withdrawal south of the ridge. The tactical result was limited but decisive. Henderson Field remained operational. Aircraft flew that afternoon. The ridge retained its position on the perimeter map. No citations were written immediately. Holloway submitted a routine after-action report. He listed ammunition counts, estimated enemy strength, and times. He did not describe his own movement forward of the line. At 1800 hours, he slept for the first time in 36 hours. He did not remove his boots. Holloway remained on Guadalcanal through October 1942. He participated in perimeter patrols and defensive rotations. No further actions reached the intensity of the ridge. In November, he contracted malaria. He was evacuated to Espiritu Santo, then to New Zealand. He returned to duty in mid-1943 and served in logistics roles for the remainder of the war. He was promoted to captain. He did not command troops in combat again. He was discharged in February 1946. He returned to Kansas. He completed his degree using the GI Bill. He taught mathematics at a public high school for 30 years. He did not attend reunions. He kept no souvenirs. The only record of Edsons Ridge in his home was a folded map in a desk drawer, marked with grease pencil coordinates. When asked by students about the war, he spoke in general terms. He avoided dates. He never mentioned the ridge. He died in 1991. His obituary listed his rank, his unit, and his profession. No citations were noted. The engagement on Edsons Ridge lasted less than 1 hour. It involved fewer than 100 American Marines in any single sector. It did not alter the course of the war by itself. What it demonstrated was narrower. In 1942, on Guadalcanal, infantry combat depended on momentum more than numbers. Units advanced until something disrupted expectation. When that disruption came, even briefly, outcomes changed. Holloway's decision was not doctrinal. It was not recorded as exemplary. It was a response shaped by observation and timing. War, at that scale, did not reward courage as an abstract quality. It rewarded the correct action taken at the final possible moment. Nothing more was required.